Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, we still have some snow on the ground, although quite a bit of it's already melted. I'd say we have half the amount that was on the ground as of this morning. It's been a pretty decently warm day considering the time of the year and the snow. Enough that it's been melting all day. And over the next couple of days, it's supposed to be 40 to close to 50 on Friday. So I suspect most of it will probably melt away, and then there's a chance of rain. And then, of course, we'll have to deal with the great mud flood. Well, not the mud flood. That's probably a couple of years or few years ahead of us. But we'll be dealing with a lot of mud nonetheless. I have something I want to show you before I get on to actually the meat and taters of the video today, where I want to talk about, well, more of the economy and signs that it's like I've been saying, a big, huge train. You throw the brakes on a train, it's going to take a while for it to come to a halt, but it will, and that's what we're seeing with the economy. It's coming to a halt. I'm not going to read this because I've already been dealing with all the YouTube censorship quite a bit here lately, so I'm just going to post this right here. I'm going to leave it up for a little bit. And I just want you to read this and let it sink in. If you need to pause the video, you can do that to read it. But just read this and just let it kind of sink in. This is an article that was posted on a website today, kind of a news website. Yeah. Guess we just didn't do enough to warn people, did we? I mean, according to this, that's what it's saying. Even if I felt that I had the real freedom on here to talk about this, I don't even know what I would say to this. I don't know. Anyways, in other news today, Joe Biden announced that we are absolutely confirmed that we are sending 31 Abrams tanks over to Ukraine. Along with that, of course, is all the logistical resources that it needs to maintain those tanks. So just to let you know, an Abrams tank, it's, on a smaller scale, but kind of like sending someone an aircraft carrier. You don't just send them the tank and drop it off and leave. And expect them to figure it out. There's a whole lot of supply chain that goes along with something like that, parts and fuel and other equipment. And so, yeah, we'll be sending a lot over there. Zelensky's already demanding that they get F-16s now, too. There's several other countries that are sending tanks over. Of course, the United Kingdom, Germany, sending Leopard 2 tanks. Poland, Netherlands, saw a few other countries saying that they have a bunch of old T-72 tanks that they could send. So that we're just sending a lot over there. And it's going to escalate, folks. I don't see any other way. We're painting Russia into a corner. And I read an article last night that was it was out of a Greek news source, so it's from over in Europe. And they made a real good point. The last time that Russia had German tanks heading towards them on, what they claim to be their territory, they know what happened. 27 million, I believe, Russians died in that. And so it would be a real easy case to sell this to the Russian people, especially to those that may have been on the fence of whether they're really supporting this action that Russia's doing, that's saying, look, here we are. Once again, less than a century later, and we've got German and European tanks that are coming at us. They're not going to look at it and say, "Oh, it's just Ukrainians." It's just you. No, this is Europe. This is NATO. This is America, England, Germany, coming at them, and it'd be a pretty good selling point to ramp up the patriotism in Russia. And there's a chance, and there's rumors in Russia that they may fully activate all 20-some million service members that they have on reserve. I mean, who knows how that logistically they would deal with all that, but They have a lot that they could call up in reserves. And as crazy as that sounds for you and I here in America, that they would just be throwing that many troops at it, that's actually a very much a Russian military tactic, is to just throw a lot of troops at the war to win it. I was reading not that long ago that there's not been a war that Russia has fought that they haven't lost at least 500,000 troops. I mean, that's just kind of the minimum standard, is to go through at least 500,000 troops. This is normal for Russia, which means that this war could last a very long time. Even NATO and our American generals have said that this is going to be a very long, drawn-out war. And the longer it gets drawn out, the greater the chance that we are going to be involved and that this could turn into some World War III. It's just not a good thing, folks. And I know that it sounds very doomsday, but, you know, the truth hurts sometimes, and we just have to, you know, understand that and then get ourselves ready. Because even if a World War III does happen, and it doesn't directly hit us on our soil, kind of like the last two, even if that's, you know, probably a best case scenario, we will still most definitely feel it here. Our economy is crumbling. Our society is falling apart, folks. It's absolutely just being pulled apart and going into a massive world war in the condition that we are in as a nation is not going to be a good thing. So you need to be getting seriously ready for that. Thing that I really wanted to point out today is some economic stuff. Numbers came out on retail sales, and I want you to look at this chart here. And I don't know how well you can see it, but all the way over to your right, you see that little red line that goes down. That's the retail sales drop over the last couple of months. In fact, it's the third largest drop in history here in the United States since they've been keeping records. This is not good. This idea that there's a soft landing and that we're going to bounce back, it's just not happening. People are not spending money. They're not, because they're running out of money. They're doing the best they can just to put food on the table and, you know, pay ridiculous prices for the food that they're paying for, and then all the other stuff, it's wearing on them. And this is another sign that our economy is really starting to screech to a halt. There's been tens of thousands of layoffs announced just in the last few weeks. A lot of big companies, you know, are just laying them off by the thousands and thousands. That somehow, some way, the media and the government keep spinning it that the job market is in great shape and that unemployment just keeps going down. Well, regardless of what they say in comparison to the truth, we know, we can see that it's just not getting good. Here's another chart here. If you look at that red line as it's shooting up, and there's a green line that's going down. Well, the red line is credit card debt. That's how Americans are accruing credit card debt at a pretty astonishing rate. And the green line that's just taken a nosedive through the floor, that's savings, because Americans have been living off of their savings for a while because things are so tough, and now they're switching over to credit card debt. There's reports that people are switching over to taking money out of their 401ks and borrowing against investments and stuff because things are getting rough. This is a trend that's going to continue. And what happens when people run out of credit cards and they run out of savings and they run out of investments that they can borrow against or withdraw from? What's going to happen then? How many people are going to lose their homes and their places to live and their cars and be brought down several notches on the old economic ladder and own nothing, and of course be expected to be happy, because that's where we're at. And I think that's why we're seeing this kind of stuff happen. This is something that I spoke of very, very early on in the whole health crisis thing. And I said way back then, about 3 years ago, that we will be watching the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. And if there's ever anything I've said on this channel that I confidently believe was 100% accurate, it's that we are watching a massive transfer of wealth. We've been seeing banks and elites just hoard up gold. And we're watching rumors and seeing things happen that banks are becoming less and less stable, and the all likelihood we'll start seeing, bail-ins from the banks, which is another just hoarding up of your wealth and moving it over to them. That's what inflation's all about. This is one of the big reasons why we need to be getting ready and prepared and building our own systems outside of the system. We one of the things that we've been talking about here locally is developing our own food systems, and not just to the point that each person is growing some food on their property or even a lot of food. And of course you should be, absolutely should be, but most everyone can't grow and raise every kind of food. But as a community, that's a strong possibility. You may have to change what you eat, but, if one person has several extra acres, maybe they can raise some cattle on it for the community and do some type of co-op of those cattle. It's the same way with chickens. Maybe there's one person that just raises a lot of chickens, or, they have some acreage of corn or wheat or whatever it is. We need to get to where we are as becoming as food independent as possible, because there's a lot of reasons, not just because of increase of prices and the economy and potential shortages, but they're starting to put things in food that we just don't want in our bodies. And it's not that they're putting it in it now. There could be, this is a possibility, but there's certainly a lot of talk about all the, that thing of it being put into food in the near future. And that's the way we get it inside of people. I know it's a conspiracy. I get it, but it's a possibility. I talked about it more in depth today over on my Patreon channel, but there's some strong motivation here for you folks to get as food independent as possible. You need to be stocking up on food. I've said this more times than I could count. You should have 1, 2, 3 year food supply. That's not going to take care of you forever, but that's definitely a buffer. That's something that you can live off of while you're transitioning to really just being completely self-sufficient on your food. And it's going to be a lot easier if you have others around you, whether they're directly in your inner circle or they're just people that you know and trust enough that you can do business with when it comes to food. This is something they've done for a long time, all over the world throughout history. Control the food and you control the people. It's pretty simple. Don't let you be one of those ones that they're controlling. Take notice of this. Realize and recognize that the economy is in a downfall, and it's going to hit rock bottom at some point. You can't just keep doing the things that they've been doing for decades with this fiat money system and this debt-based system and expect everything to just be fine and to keep going on as normal. It's going to come crashing to a halt, and it's what it looks like it's happening. And you folks need to be getting ready, getting your houses in order, preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.